Democrats. Today is Tuesday, November 16th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Tuesday. Okay, so it's November 16th. How many of you know that that is Oklahoma Statehood Day? So happy Oklahoma Statehood Day. I think, what is it, 114 years? I never noticed until I was thinking about it today that Oklahoma Statehood Day is smack dead in the middle of Native American Heritage Month. But do not pass up the opportunity to acknowledge the accomplishments of Native Americans in our state. So November 16th, Statehood Day, in the middle of Native American Heritage Month. Just kind of a weird coincidence. It's November 16th. Yesterday, the president signed the bipartisan infrastructure deal, which, by the way, is paid for. And the amount of money that we're always talking about is it's spread out over 10 years. But the entire, and that was part of what the battle was, is that it is paid for. Do not be fooled by the folks who just throw out that it's this expensive bill and it's going to send us into debt. It's paid for. So again, super excited that our roads and bridges will be addressed. But most importantly for me is the broadband portion. You've heard me cite this statistic often, but I'm going to say it again. Little over 24% of Oklahomans don't have access to affordable high-speed internet. In 2021, there are folks in our state who do not have access to affordable high-speed internet. And as you all know, COVID has kind of ripped it back and highlighted just how important that is. I think about, visiting my grandmother's house and having to use my phone as a hotspot to use the internet. But, she's 96 years old, but she's one of those special people. There are tons of people who are working from home, like me, people who are working from home who need access to reliable internet. And you guys have seen my internet's not always reliable, but school children. And although hopefully the worst of COVID is behind us, I know in Tulsa County, in Tulsa Public Schools and in Oklahoma Public Schools here recently, schools have had to shut down for a day or two here and there because of buses or because there aren't enough teachers. So I'm not real sure if we're not headed back to some sort of hybrid where kids are going to be forced to use internet to do their homework or just to do their regular schoolwork. So broadband is super important. And that's the one that I wanted to highlight today. And as Joshua Harris Till, Vice Chair of Congressional District 5, and Mary Ann Smith, Vice Chair of Comanche County, have pointed out, all of our congressional representation, all of the representation from Oklahoma in Congress voted against the infrastructure bill. So the fact that nearly a fourth of Oklahomans don't have access to high-speed internet doesn't matter to them, or it matters to them, but not enough to vote for it. They voted against it. They said no to expanded broadband. And I don't want you to forget that either. And thanks for highlighting that, Mary Ann and Joshua. So today is day 2 of the special session for our state legislators as they review the redistrict maps. Particularly of particular interest is the Congressional District 5 map and how they're chopping it up and bending over backwards to make sure that not only is Congressional District 5 chopped up, but a lot of folks' voices won't be heard because an urban congressperson will be representing a gigantic swath of rural, where a rural congressperson will be legislating over a chunk of urban, and all of this to make sure that Republican legislators get to pick who they represent versus voters picking their representation. It should be the other way around. Voters should pick our representation. All righty. Today is November 16th. I keep saying it because I want to make sure that I hammer home that today is November 16th. We are 2 days ahead of the scheduled execution of Julius Jones. The governor has an opportunity, has a choice, and has the information that he needs to halt the execution. In late September, early October, he said that his decision will be based on what the Pardon and Parole Board said, that he needed to wait until the Pardon and Parole Board held their hearing, and he would make his decision at that time. The Pardon and Parole Board have had 2 hearings, and both of those hearings call for halting the execution of Julius Jones. The governor has a choice, and it is said that right now he is in prayer. And so if you are a praying person, I urge you to join him in prayer. Right after you call him, call his office, and that's 405-521-2342. Call his office and encourage him respectfully, but forcefully, to halt the execution of Julius Jones. There are so many reasons. The Pardon and Parole Board met twice. Clemency and commutation is what they recommended twice. He said his decision would be based on the recommendations of the Pardon and Parole Board. And let's be clear, before you start thinking that the Pardon and Parole Board are some progressive lefty liberals that came out of nowhere that are all on our side, even though this is Oklahoma, these are people appointed by the governor. They're appointed by the governor. So there's no reason to question their judgment. They've recommended the halt of the execution in 2 different ways. They've suggested that Julius Jones not be executed on November 18th. The governor is the only one who can make that decision. And if you do press 0 to talk to staff, I urge you to be polite. Be deliberate, be intentional, but be polite. You don't want him to use rudeness or whatever as an excuse. Be polite, but make sure that he understands that you're an Oklahoma voice that wants him to halt the execution of Julius Jones. And while we're talking about executions, you guys know where I am, and I do know that it is in our Constitution. There's a move for a moratorium on death penalty in Oklahoma. Okay, I guess I'm good for that. I want us to just stop them, particularly because we don't do them right in Oklahoma. And you've heard me say this, but I'm going to keep saying it. We don't do them right. The 8th Amendment has a prohibition on unusual punishment and torture. And that's what executions look like in Oklahoma. We don't do them right. And if we know we don't do it right, why are we continuing doing them? There is federal litigation going on right now about executions. It will be heard in February. And so I say we have 5 executions scheduled between now and when that litigation starts. What's our rush? Why are we in such a hurry to kill these people? Are we trying to beat the buzzer? Are we trying to get it done before it can go to court? Are we trying to get it done so that once they're dead, we can say, oh, well, now we have to quit? Let's think about that. Don't bring it up when you talk to the governor. Just first, right now, because we have 48 hours, ask him to halt the execution of Julius Jones. All righty. I wanted to end on an action item. Call the governor now, 405-521-2342. Ask him to halt the execution on Julius Jones. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow at 4:15.